this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill no
Wait a
one.
second.
No.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin, this is Kotobuki Jake, and we're here to show you what they got. Yes, so they got a lot of cool stuff out there this time around, but we're doing...
And yes, we have no Gundam.
So here's some anime that you might like. Yeah, total of 4 titles there.
I know.
All
Some
right.
anime for you.
So I'm going to take this, I'm going to exit the full screen here. I'm going to push this up so you can see. And then we're going to move over to our quality board. You know, here at SeptumSin versus the world, we try to give you some quality assurance when we talk about our stuff. And
Indeed.
And here we are with our rating system. Of course, priority means that, hey, we need to get this. It's going to be on, it's not just wish listed, it is important. These are titles that you and I might fret over in the night thinking to ourselves, I hope this doesn't go out of print. Because if we have to put a kibosh on it for a little bit, we're both looking at this thing going, it will be mine. Oh, yes. Like that Fate set. I'm sitting there going, I can't afford it right now, but I really want to get it. But that box is too freaking big. But I really need to get it because it could go out of print. I don't know if they're going to reprint it. You know, these are the things that I go through my head. Especially since some of those other white Fate box sets have not been reprinted. So the next is Yes Please, which it's on our wish list. We have a good interest in it. It might be an eventual get, but it's, you know, it's not something that we're going to necessarily rush out and get. We can definitely wait, and if it goes out of print, we'll be sad, but, you know. Curious, you know, looks interesting. Meh. Maybe $4. Maybe for free. But not really more than that. And then, hell no. It means it'll never go onto the collection. I can think of a very scant few hell no's on my end. I know that there are quite a few on Jake's end. I think the last one that we agreed to was a hell no, was the, what was it, the 50 Shades trilogy? So, you know, it's been a while since we've agreed.
Hell no.
So, with that being said, let's go on and... Dude, you can see, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, we're going to start with Jake on our anime.
All right. On our anime, we have, in their continuing drive to make their stuff look like it should only appeal to a certain group of individuals, we have the pervert edition. Although, granted, the original cover art was kind of interesting anyway, but this was based off the original ADV cover art. But we have the short, awesome series Elfen Lied from Sentai Filmworks via ADV Films. It was originally released here by ADV, and Sentai bought it up when they kind of folded. And this is what, the third Sentai release, I think.
They actually
Like I said, I have this edition. There is a steelbook edition. I think there may have been a DVD only edition before this one. The thing that sets these apart from the original ones is the presence of the OVA, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
I did used to have the lovely Diclonius Report box set, which was really cool looking, but it did not have the OVA, which I've actually never seen the OVA. I've seen the series 3 or 4 times. This is a great show. It's bloody, it's messed up, it's disturbing. It's a sci-fi series about a race of mutants called Diclonius and their queen bee Lucy. It's a really, really, really good show with one of the most incredible openers of any show. It is absolutely a priority. I do not know what sets this apart.
could just be a
There is an existing English dub. This edition that I have has an English dub. So I don't know if Sentai redubbed it, or because they're doing a lot of those shows right now where they're putting out editions that have a redub or whatever. But both of this week's are re-releases of ones that they already did in English dub. So I don't know. I don't know what makes this one fancy, but if you don't have Elfin Lied, get it. It is a priority.
You know, I think it could just be that they ran out of their previous print and they're putting it back into print.
Could be.
I know that Sentai stuff goes out of print, and sometimes they leave it out of print, unfortunately. But in this case, it could just be the case. They're just reprinting it, and they say, you know what, let's do the sexy cover. I like it they have ABV in the corner. There's a part of me that I'm on the fence between priority and yes, please, but I'll be nice and leave it as a priority. It is a pretty good series. It is a messed up series. I do think it's a classic. So yeah, good. Well, one that's not so much. A new Studio Ghibli entry, Earwig and the Witch. Now, this is a story about a little girl who's dropped off by her mother at an orphanage. She's kind of happy at the orphanage, but a witch decides that she is going to adopt Earwig and use her as an assistant. So, this is an interesting thing. It's Ghibli's first attempt at the 3D computer animation. It is a Goro Miyazaki film. It is definitely his weakest entry. Also based on a children's book. There's the Steelbook edition that's coming out, which actually looks even uglier, in my opinion. There's a couple of issues I have with this. And I need to make sure these issues are stated because of what rating I'm going to end up giving it. The animation is subpar for Studio Ghibli. Because I've seen the Lupin the Third movie that they did. So that shows me that yes.
Well, they didn't do Lupin.
Well, no, not them, but sorry, that has been done by Japanese animators. So I know Japanese animators can do 3D animation as good, and not only as good, but just as good, if not better, than Pixar. This is not at that level.
The better comparison would be, how does this stand up against Ronya the Robber's Daughter?
Okay, maybe about on par with that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a little bit better, but some of the animation didn't look finished at times. It just felt rushed. And not only that, but the story was very slow to start. And as soon as it gets to where you feel like it's going to start to roll, the movie's over. So this is easily my least favorite Ghibli film. So if I were to compare it to, say, Pixar, it would be the Bug's Life of Ghibli film. Still good in many ways, but nothing compared to the other works. But with that being said, it is a Ghibli work. I do have it actually in the mail on the way to me, so it is a priority for me, which is why I wanted to explain that it might not be a priority for you, but for me, I have to, because it is a Ghibli film and I want all of them.
Well, I'll be honest, I might have pre-ordered this if he hadn't trashed it so thoroughly. But being a Ghibli film, it is on the agenda. I will get it, but I'm willing to leave it at yes, please.
At least they don't go out of print very quickly.
Right.
All right.
And I'll probably be able to get it cheaply enough. Next up, this one is arguably on par with the original cover. I don't know if you could see my original cover here, but we have another re-release from Sentai, series called Sunday Without God. In a world abandoned by God, the bodies of the dead will continue to walk unless they are buried by one of the mysterious gravekeepers. I, one of the last children in a world where no more can be born, becomes her small village's gravekeeper when her mother, the previous gravekeeper, passes on. But the arrival of a pale gun-wielding stranger destroys her village and what little remained of Ai's old existence, etc., etc. I have not yet seen this. It's still unopened, sitting there. There are too many of those. But it's one I want to see. I've heard good things about it. It's got an intriguing premise. Again, I actually like the cover art on this re-release. I like the original, but this one is not a step down, I think. I, again, am unclear about why this version. But if you don't have it, it's probably worth picking up. I would be willing to give this one a yes, please, because it was one that I prioritized getting as soon as I could afford it at a, what I considered a reasonable price.
I'm going to put it at curious. I don't have it in my collection yet, and maybe if it gets cheap enough, I'll throw it in there. It's been one of those that I've come across again and again, and I've gone, maybe. Okay, maybe next time.
Right.
It's one I thought I had, but I'm looking up at the S's now, and I'm like, Sunset Boulevard, Summer Wars.
This is the danger with Sentai, is they get those great sales, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get this and this and this and this and this, and fill all the holes, and then the next sale comes along. Which one did I get last time?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's definitely not up there, so I'm guessing I don't have it. I'm pretty sure I don't. So yeah, it's just one of those that will be on my list. I think there's a DVD release, isn't there?
There was initially, I think. I don't think there is now, because Sentai is not really doing DVDs now, all right?
I guess it depends on if it's sold out or not. But in any case, boom.
Any case.
All right, Gakwan Heaven.
Okay.
So we got ourselves a bit of a yaoi here. One that's actually fairly well known. Media Blasters is re-releasing this on Blu-ray. And about this guy who ends up attending this Bell Liberty Academy. And apparently he gains a harem of men that want him. So, essentially, it looks like it would be interesting enough, I guess. I don't know enough of it to really say. I just know it has a reputation. So, I'm not willing to write it off right away because I don't know. And I do know that there are yaoi titles that I actually think are worth owning. Gravitation being one of those. I actually consider it as a must-have in the collection. So, it just depends on how tastefully they can do the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I'll go with Curious, since I don't know.
This one's a tricky one. You said it's a Media Blasters release?
Correct.
Which probably means strange availability for this one. And the likelihood of a sale is hard to call, really.
Not terribly
Media
expensive.
Blaster... Well, they're not terribly expensive, but they also tend to never go on sale.
Yep.
I had to wait for friggin' ever to get the OVAs to Fushigi Yugi because I didn't want to pay 20-odd bucks for them, especially Akiden. But this one, I've heard of this. I do know it a little bit by reputation. Yaoi is not my cup of tea, and the fact that it's a harem series makes me wonder about the potential for tastefulness, as you said. Part of me wants to say meh, just so we have the anime and a line going. But I'm on the edge between curious and meh. I would not pay a lot. I would maybe pay $5 or $6 for this series, but I think I would. If I found it for $5, I would consider it very strong. So, yeah. So I'm curious, I guess.
Well, that's it for you Animu people.
Yeah.
But that's not all she wrote. As a matter of fact, here's a couple more titles that you might like.
Only a couple.
So we have a number here, so what's going to go up to the board, and boom. There you go.
Boom. Akasa My Home. This is a movie from someplace.
Yes.
I want to say it's from Brunei. No, not Brunei. Budapest, I want to say. Bucharest. I knew I was going to get there eventually. Sorry. So this is a Kino Lorber release. It's a documentary about people who were living just outside of Bucharest in harmony with nature, quote unquote, until they were forced off of that, well, not really their land, but, might as well be. And they were basically forced to move to the city. And so, to me, that's an incredibly depressing thing to have happen. I think. I'm intrigued by this. I think it looks like it could be interesting. It looks like it probably is a little bit depressing, but definitely worth a look, I would think. I'm on the border between hi curious and yes please. I don't really know which side I would fall on. If I had known more about this, it would probably be a yes please, but I'll let you figure that out.
I'll go with curious.
All right.
Until I know more about it.
Right.
All right. So, one of my filler titles, I decided, hey, it's an Arrow release. That might be worth covering. Death Has Blue Eyes. Indeed it does. Mm-hmm. That is one heck of a cover right there.
It is a nice cover, yeah. Arrow is good for making nice-looking covers, no doubt about it.
When local
That's a lot of bonus features.
It does, but then again, Arrow is known for that. It's basically their criterion for films that Criterion mostly wouldn't touch. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mostly. When local gigolo Chess meets his vacationing friend Bob at Athens airport, the pair embark on a string of scams and erotic dalliances that eventually lead them into contact with an elegant, wealthy woman, Geraldine, and her glamorous daughter, Christine. Geraldine blackmails the two cheeky bachelor boys into acting as bodyguards for Christine, whom it transpires has telepathic abilities and has had her eye on them for some time. Well, it looks like an amusing film, if anything else. Mm-hmm. It's an Arrow release, so that's got my curiosity up. So I could go with the curious.
I have to admit, the IMDb reviews for this were not kind, but I like the cover. I am more than willing to pick up Arrow releases if they come my way. It sounds interesting enough. I can go with a low curious.
All right, moving on.
All right. Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. One of the more talked about comedies of the past year, and not necessarily in a good way. This one co-stars Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo. And apparently it's about a couple of ditzy, clueless suburbanites who go on vacation. And I have heard that it's definitely not a great film, but I've heard that it's fun. But I included it mainly because I have heard of this movie multiple times over the course of the past year. And it has my vague curiosity. If nothing else, one could look at it as sort of like the train wreck phenomenon.
Well, the cover is pretty. You know what it looks like?
Yeah.
It looks like one of those movies that they based off of a Saturday Night Lights life sketch.
I don't know if they did, but it definitely does look that way.
It has
You
those
are correct.
vibes to it, you know?
Yes. Actually, I think it might have been based on an SNL sketch.
Well,
is it a Lorne Michaels production? Do we know?
Let's see what we got down here.
Well, Damon Wayans Jr.'s in there and Michael Hitchcock. But that doesn't say anything about the producer, does it?
No.
I am going to go... I wonder if I'm giving it too much credit to say curious. I definitely would not pay a lot for this by any means. Yeah. But it does have that.
Very happy shrimp.
What happened?
Very happy shrimp.
Oh, yeah. Very happy. Okay, I'm just looking. Okay, well, Will Ferrell and Adam McKay are on the producing crew, along with Kristen Wiig. So no, not what's his name that I just mentioned and I've already forgotten. Lorne Michaels, not him, but you got Farrell and McKay. So that might be worth a look. I'll leave it as a low curious.
I'll leave it at curious. So, doors.
Yeah.
Also, another matter of fact, I think I only had one entry on this other than Earwig that I had an interest in. So the
This
rest
one?
of these are no, it's at the end. So this is an interesting thing, but I just took the ones that look vaguely interesting to me. Without warning, millions of mysterious alien doors suddenly appear around the globe. In a rush to determine the reason for their arrival, mankind must work together to understand the purpose of these cosmic anomalies. Bizarre incidences occurring around the sentient doors lead humanity to question their own existence and altered reality as they attempt to enter them. I mean,
How do we know they're alien doors?
Yeah, I mean, they could be coming from Earth. They might have been here before us, you know.
Exactly.
But, it's got this kind of transcendental weird thing. And, it's, Epic Pictures is doing this release.
Ooh.
So, I'm curious. It's about as good as I could say for that.
Nah.
Okay.
That's all I have to say about that. Okay, Carol Lombard Collection 2. Hands Across the Table, Love Before Breakfast, and Princess Comes Across. So once again, we have a Carol Lombard collection from Kino Lorber. As you can guess from the two, it is the second in a series. We covered the first, 3 months ago, whenever the heck that came out. I think at the time I pretty much said I was curious. It's a nice way to get a bunch of Carol Lombard stuff, some lesser known titles. She's a big name in early cinema, so that's pretty cool. But that's really all I have on that. I'm going to give it a curious.
I can leave it there.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Hansel and Gretel. This one does have my curiosity up a little bit. Sort of like an Asian Hansel and Gretel, which is interesting there.
Yeah, I mistook it apparently for Gretel and Hansel, that one that came out last year.
No, not that one.
Yeah.
Director Yim Pil-sung, so I'm guessing Korean. So Media Blasters is doing the release for this. When Unso, his car is disabled in the country, he meets a mysterious girl who leads him to her storybook house deep in the forest. Trapped with the girl and her strange, ageless siblings, he soon learns all the adult visitors meet a mysterious, terrifying fate. He discovers that their previous victims' deaths were foretold in the pages of the Book of Fairy Tales. With no escape, will Unso escape or end up chronicled in the dreaded Book of Fables? I don't know. This one actually does look interesting, because I almost put this one on my list originally, and then was probably one of the first ones to go back on the list again. So I think I'm going to put this as curious for me. It's a high curious, oddly enough, because it's one that I'm almost wish listing, but not quite. I
don't know entirely why. I think I just made the assumption that it was that one that came out last year with the trailer that creeped. Yeah. This actually intrigues me. It may be something that I will regret seeing, but I am intrigued. I am willing to go curious on that.
All right.
The Delicious Little Devil. Another Kino Lorber release features Mae Murray, and it is particularly notable in the fact that it is a feature film from 1919. A poor hat check girl loses her job and is forced to get a job as a dancer at a roadhouse. There she falls in love with the son of a rich businessman, etc., etc. It's kind of so-so rating, but I mean, it's from 1919, and I am really trying to beef up my knowledge of genuinely old school cinema. This is something that, Rudolph Valentino, indeed. 4K restoration. I'm also intrigued what a 4K restoration would do for a 1919 movie. And this also has, a few bonus features, including a Orson Welles memoriam for Rudy Valentino. That's kind of interesting. This might be well worth looking at. And again, Kino release. I'm going to keep an eye out. If this goes on sale for like $10 or something, I might actually jump on it for that price. So we'll give it a strong curious.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I mean, Rudolph Valentino, both of those, both the leads were pretty big back in the day. So, worth checking out.
Right.
Moving on. Iron Girl, Final Wars.
Woohoo!
So, not much on this. It has been released by Section 23. And, it has a particular look to it. That it kind of gives me that type of film vibe like Yo-Yo Girl Cop. Where it's over the top, crazy. I mean, I've seen some other stuff by Switchblade Pictures, so, and it is usually over the top stuff. I mean, the question is, will it be over the top like Yo-Yo Girl Cop, or will it be over the top like Ichi the Killer? So, it's something I'm more curious about. I need to know more about it before I would go further.
Well, eight reviewers give it a 3.9 rating on IMDb.
Oh, I don't put any stock in that stuff.
Yeah, you'll be the one that comes along and pushes it up to 5.5.
Hey, I've seen some films. I got films in my collection that are in the 2s that I love.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I mean, shoot! I just purchased Sharks in Venice, for goodness sakes. That should tell you where my taste is.
It should. Oh man, I don't even know where I would put this. I'm willing to go meh because I might buy it on a $2 whim, but I don't know that I would. I may regret that.
See, if I knew it was more like something like Tokyo Gore Police or something, I would probably give it a very high score. But it's an unknown. It's an unknown quantity.
Okay.
Could be boring.
So next up, we have The Man in Search of His Murderer, or at least that is the title that it is going under from the new release, again, from Kino Lorber. The original title being Der Mann der seinen Mördersuch, however you say that. A German film from 1931. So again, this may be one of those ones like pre-war kind of people that got cut out. This is the part that made me go from, I might be interested, to, yes, I must put this on my list. A much younger Billy Wilder is actually uncredited, but IMDb lists him as one of the writers on this film. And they actually credit Jules Verne, strangely enough. Even though Verne had long since passed when this came out, apparently, somehow he is involved in this production. I don't know the particulars, but I'm intrigued by the idea of Jules Verne and Billy Wilder sitting next to each other in the writers' camp. And I do want to see it. It is, again, a Kino Lorber release. Once again, I'll probably get it if it goes cheap enough. I would definitely give that a Curious.
I'm going to go with Curious. A lot of that information sounds interesting, and a lot of stuff I like looking at that cinema in that transitional period between kind of post-World War I Germany and Nazi Germany. It's probably closer to the Nazi Germany by 1931, but still. All right, so one by a director that of course you love so much, Dario Argento, Sleepless.
One of his later films,
With,
later films.
Max von Sydow, which is prevalent in those films. Argento brings us a chilling giallo film like only the true master can. A series of grisly murders in the city match the work of a serial killer who appears to have escaped the authorities and disappeared without a trace 17 years earlier. A retired police detective who is familiar with the case comes out of retirement to catch the killer. I have a
Didn't he know you never do that?
I have a love-hate with Argento. I know that there are many in our group who would consider that sacrilege. So I need to know more about it, but I would be willing to, if it was cheap enough, I'd be willing to put it in the collection for the name alone, because Argento is somebody I need to get more films of. So I'm willing to leave it as Curious on my end.
This one is problematic for me. I'm going to be honest. There was part of me that really, 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 really wanted to say Curious. Argento teaming with Max von Sydow. It's a recent film. There's a lot to be said for giving it a go, and I like the basic premise. The problem is, it supposedly is a very bloody film, and I'm aware that he goes very bloody when he does. He doesn't always, but when he does, yeah. I don't know that I would be. I don't know that it would be worth my while to go Curious on this one. But I'm not going to go hell no. So we'll go with a meh.
All right. Boy, Katie would have your head. All right.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have the kind of movie that's probably a little bit more in my wheelhouse, and I would imagine Dane's as well. This is preparations to be together for an unknown period of time. This is a very recent film. It is, I do believe, a foreign language film, but I am forgetting precisely from whence it came. But it came out last year, and it did get some pretty solid buzz. Marta, a 40-year-old neurosurgeon, falls in love. She leaves her shining American career behind and returns to Budapest. Okay, there's the Budapest I was thinking of, to start a new life with the man. The love of her life claims they have never met before. So this is it is an Hungarian film. It was their submission for international feature. Apparently did not make the final cut. But I have heard good things about this. It looks intriguing. It's an excessively long title, but whatever. I'm going to go with Curious on that one.
Okay, so this is a weird one because I admit I thought I had made a mistake in my in this stuff because I was looking on Blu-ray.com. I'm like, it's not here. And then I'm realizing, wait, there's a reason why I go onto other sites other than Blu-ray.com to find these. And I'm realizing
As a DVD
it's
only?
a DVD only release. So I was like, dope. That's why I couldn't find it. That being said, there's more than one reason why I probably wouldn't look for it. It doesn't really even have my curiosity up. I wouldn't refuse it into the collection, but I really don't have time for something like that unless I have a lot more invested in it. So I will go with a meh on that one.
He's trying to get me back for the Argento film.
No. Hey, I have been very fair.
Okay.
Speaking of fair, let's talk about Skyfire. I mean,
yeah,
that just speaks to you, doesn't it? All actiony movie called
I
Skyfire.
admit, from the director of Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, and The Expendables 2, actually almost had my attention.
I mean, it looks like you've got yourself like a bunch of people in a Jeep riding up an active volcano. I mean, that looks like it's like awesome right then and there.
Well, yeah.
Oh, like had mail.
They should have been riding sharks with freaking lasers.
So she just gave them to me.
So Skyfire is it is basically about a bunch of people driving a Jeep up that. So the cover actually said it all.
All right.
I can't really deny this does have my curiosity up on there.
This is not something I would spend good money on, but I admit I'm curious, so we'll go with that.
Just that is a very ludicrous looking.
Okay, next up we have another Kino Lorber triple pack, Western Classics 2, which once again, the 2 tells you that it is the second in a row. We have The Redhead from Wyoming, Pillars of the Sky, and Gun for a Coward, Gun for a Coward, there we go. That one, of course, with Fred McMurray, Chill Wills, Jeffrey Hunter. Redhead from Wyoming has Maureen O'Hara and some other folks, and then the other one has some other folks. A lot of them have some pretty big names in westerns, and yeah, exactly. And see, this one, we got something for everyone. This one, I'm sure, would appeal very much to Dave. Ward Bond, who's in all of those movies, I would like to get some of these multi-pack collections. I think they look pretty cool. They've got some good old stuff in them. I'm going to go curious, but it's not one I'm going to be busting down the door to get.
You know me long enough to know what I think about this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn down, again, I wouldn't turn down a bunch of random westerns, but westerns, I find a lot of westerns boring. And so I have to have something invested in a western for me to really want to see it. And this one doesn't have anything special drawing me to them. So I will go with a meh on them. All right. So far, interesting assortment here.
Uno más.
All right, the only other one I had on my list, which I've had before, we're not going to spend much time on this. It's Thundar the Barbarian, which y'all know this. We talked about this. I believe it was a Curious on mine before. They keep pushing the darn title back, but I think this time it is going to legit come out on the 6th. Maybe. So I'll leave it where I left it last time, which was Curious, because I'll
go with that.
So,
You're talking about keep pushing it back, though. How many times have we seen A Woman Called Eve come up on here?
I know. It's like, maybe not this time. So we have a couple other interesting ones. One that looks like it's almost borderline pornographic. As Jacob said, the woman like Eve. Shadow in Cloud, I actually almost put up, but I decided not to. Same thing with the Reckoning. If you'd had more of them that you would like on off, like with the Lash or something like that, and you had to cover them, I probably would have put those two up next.
Or the Fraulein. What is that? Fraulein leather?
Yes, exactly. I say borderline pornographic.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Any other thing? But that's about what we left out this time around. Nothing hugely bad necessarily.
Pretty short and sweet this week.
No Hell No's. Matter of fact, no Hell No's even on the single-sided. We're pretty much there, and the curious and the good outweighs the meh. So, hey, something for everybody.
Yep.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. Hit that like button if you enjoyed. Of course, subscribe and share. But we'll see you on the next one.
Goodbye.